Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark, doing a Slaanesh episode. So let's just start with this. We'll just quickly take the shirt off, All right, I'm ready to talk Slaanesh. For those in the live stream, who's with me? Now, we got Gerald. Welcome, my friend.
Who has two thumbs and is ready to talk about Slaanesh and debauchery at my expense?
Join me in the cult of excess, my dude. And then I also am like, man, we need a third for this. So I put out an ad on Reddit, like looking for local pervert. And this dude has joined the chat. So welcome this guy.
You thought you could get rid of me, but I was always there, lingering.
Christian.
Waiting for my return. Oh, you thought you could get rid of me.
No.
You were the local pervert on Reddit?
He's back.
How?
I'm the local pervert on every subreddit. Yeah, I found my way back on the show. Thanks for booting me, Mark.
Well, when you lose trivia events, that's what happens. You get banished for a couple episodes until the listeners grovel and plead for you to come back, just so they can mock you. Right. It's like that kind of.
And then may it be your last episode.
Shameful return.
Yeah, it's like a hate fuck, I think, would be a good analogy for this episode only, though.
So this is the perfect episode for it. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, like I said, welcome to Lorehammer. We're doing a Slaanesh episode, but before we get to that, let's do some quick housekeeping. We have a Discord. On our Discord, there are things. So, ta-da! Come hang out with us. It'll be fun. It's pretty okay, actually. It's a good time. There's a couple weirdos on there, mostly me, Christian, and Gerald, but it's fine. It's fine.
Hey, they think I'm a weirdo. I had to adapt to my surroundings to survive.
You became one of them.
Oh man. But if you also like to hang out with us and support the show for just $2.50 per month, you can you can have access to the ad-free versions on Spotify. And we all hate ads because, anyways, some would say they're quite excessive.
They are.
They are very excessive. But for $5 per month, or TEEF if you're court, you can have access to this lovely live stream where you get to talk to us and celebrate the debauchery.
Yeah, and you get to say stuff like this. Well, we know the stream starts good when the nips are out. Technically, the nips are just below screen. I'm not letting you see the goods fully. But
that's for the OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I like that $2.50. No longer called 50 cents. We go by $half now. Another benefit of signing up for the Patreon and the live stream is that you get to join the chat room and join us in the debauchery. And you can even be part of the show as a call-in guest at the end of the episode. So totally worth it. If you've listened to Lorehammer for a long time and wanted to be on the show, this is your chance. Do it.
Have you always wanted to start a Slaanesh pleasure cult with me? This is the time.
This is your chance.
All in. We can do it. We can come up with something. We'll make it happen.
We're on something.
Yeah. This is the perfect episode. Today, we are talking about the cult of excess, which is the mortal followers of Slaanesh. So we've been doing this little series of, we've done the gods, the realms, then the demons, and now we're doing the mortal followers, the Christians out there, the Geralds out there, and especially the Marks out there. So in this episode, we'll do a quick recap on Slaanesh, then we'll dive right into the cult of excess. We'll learn about the three main branches of it and what gets people off. Then we'll talk about gifts of Slaanesh, including demonhood, the benefits of that, Slaanesh corruption, and eventually spawndom. How does Slaanesh get you? How are you falling into his deadly traps? That's the corruption. And then we'll get into the actual main meat of the episode, the notable forces of the cult of excess. We'll be talking Chaos Space Marines from the Emperor's Children to the Sirens of Agony. There's a couple listed in there that we're going to be talking about. Then we're going to talk about Renegades and Cults. There's another 5 or 6 in there. I forget what most of them were, but I remember they were killer. I went through 30 and kind of narrowed them down. And then we'll talk about the Night Houses, specifically some Slaanesh-specific Imperial Night patterns, usually called Hell something, Hell Knights, Hell Striders, Hell Scourges. But those are pretty cool. They're pretty old school, so that'll be fun to kind of go over them. Titan Legions up next after that. Then Xenos followers. We got the Allure. You know them, you love them. Most people have heard of this Xenos Slaanesh worshipping alien race. And then we'll finally finish it off with some notable servants. So going to be a jam-packed episode. I'm excited to get off with you boys. It's going to be a real treat for me. Eye contact
I must ask you this. Did you schedule this for the sole purpose of trying to turn me more towards Slaanesh? Because you know my disgust towards Slaanesh.
Yeah, and I've been doing the same with Jordan. I like listening to Jordan read about Nurgle things. So yeah, no, I am definitely a dark patron putting you up with gods that you shouldn't be up with, but slowly I'll weaken you down and corrupt you.
I'm going to wait for Jax to join in on the chat before I go into my diatribe of why I don't like Slaanesh, but that'll have to wait. So, until then, let's actually talk about Slaanesh. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince, is the chaos god of excess, pleasure, and obsession. Born from the hedonistic collapse of an ancient empire, Slaanesh embodies the pursuit of perfection in all things, art, sensation, and emotion twisted to their most extreme. Her followers revel in indulgence, pushing beyond mortal limits to taste every ecstasy and agony the galaxy can offer. From the elegant blaze of the Emperor's Children to the decadent cults of the dance and madness, all are drawn to Slaanesh's seductive power. Her realm in the warp is a shimmering nightmare of beauty and torment, where desire reigns eternal.
Yeah, Slaanesh, you know it, you love it. One of the easy gods. All the gods can be so easy to fall into. But hey, man, who among us hobbyers haven't bought one too many Warhammer boxes and fallen to Slaanesh? Oops.
Oops, I think Slaanesh has taken Christian.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, no.
Up next, we'll talk about the cult of excess. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince, the Lord of Excess, is the youngest and most seductive of the Chaos Gods. Where Khorne roars and Nurgle festers, Slaanesh whispers, and the whisper is irresistible. A being of perfect, impossible beauty, Slaanesh appears to each soul in the form it most desires. Then, drawing them in with a gaze that promises everything and demands only surrender. Those who follow the path of the Prince of Pleasure do so willingly at first, compelled by promises of passion, talent, beauty, or fame, only to find themselves shackled by the ecstasy they pursued. This is usually how I get people to join me on Lorehammer. Promise them a little bit of passion, a little beauty.
Perfect ASMR whispering right in your ear that people really enjoy for some strange reason.
I
don't
get it.
I don't know what to deal about it, but it's something that's just so very
Someone is sticking wet fingers in my ears and giving me wet willies till I go to sleep.
I hate that.
All right.
To look upon Slaanesh is to lose all sense of moderation. The god's presence burns in the soul like sweet fire, a rapture that grows hungrier. The cult of excess feeds upon that fire, stoking it higher and higher until it consumes everything. Artists, poets, lovers, killers all find their craft elevated to grotesque heights by Slaanesh's touch, driven to produce more, feel more, destroy more, and never ever stop. The joy they first found turns bitter and cold without constant escalation. No taste, no caress, no thrill. This is ever enough.
In temples soaked in perfumes, narcotics, and flesh, the cultists of Slaanesh gather. Every vice is welcome, every indulgence is sacred. The line between pain and pleasure is blurred until neither remains distinct, and sensation itself becomes the only true pursuit. Slaves to their desires, they dance beneath impossible lights, shuddering music, their bodies painted, and phosphorescent colors and wrapped in fabric so fine they're nearly sinful to touch. As the chaos god of obsession and unrestrained desire, Slaanesh is the embodiment of all that tempts the mortal heart. Its domain stretches from the grandest opera hall to the lowest gutter, from elite salons to degenerate alley cults. Noble houses fall under its sway just as quickly as starving slum dwellers, for in the end, all hearts yearn for more. More admiration, more sensation, more everything. And in that yearning, Slaanesh waits. The Eldari, once the greatest civilization in the galaxy, fell to ruin through their devotion to Slaanesh, their every excess echoing across the warp, until the Dark Prince was born. Now the cult of excess seeks to repeat the glorious collapse across 1,000 worlds. Wherever there is boredom, they bring delight. Where there is restraint, they offer liberation. Whole cities have drowned in orgiastic madness, their structures buried under the weight of uncontrolled pleasure. Followers of Slaanesh often go to war dressed in luminous hues, pinks, purples, golds, with armor that gleams like lacquered flesh and weaponry crafted with obscene artistry. Many of the faithful wield sonic weapons, blasting enemies apart with walls of tortured noise and euphoric agony. Others engage in war as if they were performance art, choreographing each strike, each death to evoke awe. Even failure and death are savored by these fanatics, for they are new sensations, new frontiers in the endless quest.
You know, you can't get enough, man. You start chasing that dragon. Start slow at first. Just a thought a day. But then it builds and builds, and then all you can think about is whatever you're currently thinking about. Could be something very minor and completely in your own little world, a very specific type of fabric perhaps that you're really into and you've been hunting down. I don't know what gets you off. Sometimes I don't want to know, but Slaanesh knows.
If you're listening to this podcast, it's a good chance it's Warhammer.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
definitely.
daydreaming all day about it. You're sucking wieners in alleys to afford it. Like, consumes your life.
That's all it's about. That's all it's about. The cult's rituals are no less theatrical. Blood and wine poured in equal measure, the air thick with incense and shrieks of ecstasy. Their worship a cacophony of delight and despair. Devotees modify their bodies, adding extra tongues for taste, nerves for pleasure, limbs for dance. Those who cannot feel enough through flesh alone turn to elixirs and hallucinogens brewed by the cult's apothecaries until reality itself becomes just another canvas on which to paint their rapture. Even the most devoted loyalists may find their dreams invaded by visions of exquisite decadence, and their waking hours haunted by memories of things never lived. Slaanesh is a creeping corruption, a perfume that clings, a tune that echoes, a hunger that grows with every bite. The Emperor's priests warn of it, yet still the noble and the lowborn alike are drawn to its allure. For who does not dream, in some quiet, guilty moment, of indulgence without consequence? Among the most infamous of Slaanesh's servants are the Emperor's children. Once loyal space marines, now deranged perfectionists, lost in a spiral of sensation. They butcher and sing in the same breath, carving worlds apart with musical weapons and shrieking glory to their beautiful, monstrous god. In their wake they leave only echoes of laughter, of screams, of shattered lives and souls stretched thin by too much feeling. To serve Slaanesh is to drown in velvet and sound in the heat of another's breath and the rush of one's own pulse. It is to crave until you are nothing but craving, a vessel for lust and longing, and when the last barrier of restraint breaks, when even the pain becomes pleasure, Slaanesh will be there, lips parted, arms open, promising that there is still one more thing you've never felt, and you will chase it forever.
You know, that's not that bad. If it's forever, it's not that bad.
He's already trying to rationalize it. That's the first step on the road to damnation.
Damn it. no.
Yep, that's it. He's already shown the first signs, man.
Yeah, I mean, it started when he took off his shirt, and it's just
Oh,
downhill.
yeah, it's just
carried.
it's all downhill from there.
It's escalated, as I learned today.
No, it'll escalate when Christian and I join in on this debauchery, and I'm still
Oh,
holding out,
yeah.
man. I am
Yeah.
still holding out.
I'm not convinced that Mark's wearing pants either, to be honest with you. How can we know that?
How could anyone know?
I don't want to test the theory.
I did read a comment the other day, which was super funny. It was like, look at Mark's wardrobe. I think he only owns like 3 shirts.
And he's right.
And he is right. Yeah, no, I pretty much only wear a shirt recording podcasts for you guys, except for Slaanesh now. So here's a change of outfit for you, buddy.
This one goes out to you. Sensation without limitations. The galaxy writhes beneath the gaze of Slaanesh, where joy, pride, lust, and thrill are but appetizers in a feast of feeling. A parent's tear, a lover's gasp, the exhale of a soldier spared. These are mere whispers of the symphony of the Dark Prince craves. Yet they are not enough. From a palace stitched from sensation in the realm of chaos, Slaanesh hungers for more, new flavors on the tongue, stranger screams on the battlefield, pain made into melody. Every sensation is a stepping stone, every boundary a dare to be broken. The cult of excess follows blindly, desperately. They paint with blood, sculpt with agony, and dream of rapturous heights that sear the soul. Whether through art, war, or ecstasy, their lives are experiments in indulgence, spiraling towards a perfection that doesn't exist. But in the Dark Prince's name, they'll die trying.
Right, so that's definitely one path to go down. We'll see if it's one I want right now. Maybe. Just unlimited senses. If you could have like one maxed out sense, what would it be for each of you? Would you like have like better than 20/20 vision? Like you have like infrared vision? You want supersonic, subsonic hearing? What do you want?
Is there a downside to it? Because I can see the hearing one being actually really bad in the modern world.
No. Like it's Slaanesh has gifted you with something wonderful, and all he asks is that you also take this demon weapon named and go slay some planets. So it's not that bad a deal. It's exactly what you wanted.
Okay,
Slay or slay?
Both. It's both.
At the same time.
I'm gonna go with eyesight.
Eyesight, yeah, okay. Gerald?
Yeah, eyesight.
Okay, I think me too. Why? Why'd you guys choose that?
Just seems like the most practical that you could benefit from. Like
Mhm.
smelling, some things you don't want to smell super clearly. Taste. If you're like a really big eater, I can see taste being a thing, but I already can't taste anything, so whatever. Hearing, same thing. Like, what can you do to hear better? Like everything you need to hear, you can even like with technology
Sure.
get it. But eyesight,
Mhm.
you can. I think you can take the most advantage of.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have to agree with that. Hearing would have been a close second for me just because of the whole not music major, but band geek part of me, because I'm an instrumental player, so I always like to hear different kinds of music and everything. But vision seems to have the least drawbacks to it, because you can easily crank up that volume just a little too high to bust out your perfect hearing. So
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I had laser eye surgery many years ago, and I remember like putting in contacts for the first time type situation. Be like, holy fuck, is this real life now? Like, oh, I can see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is
Sight
what the
is
world
sweet.
looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I
And
hung out with Christian the next day, and it was like, well, take these out.
throw them away. You took your whole eyeball out, not just a contact.
Pleasure, obsession, and excess. Where the Imperium preaches denial, Slaanesh offers ecstasy. Against the backdrop of endless toil and drudgery, even a single stolen pleasure can shine like a star. And that is how it begins. The Prince of Pleasure tempts not with force, but with freedom. A moment of relief, a whisper of joy, a taste for something more. For some, it is rebellion, for others, simple survival, a flicker of warmth in the life of frost. Wealth is not acquired, obsession grows in palace halls and gutters and shadows alike. One might chase the perfect note, the softest fabric, the scent of burning hair. Another may savor the taste of tears or the dance of pain across skin. And when mortal limits are reached, Slaanesh opens new doors. Mutation birthed new senses. Rituals refine agony into art. Flesh, spirit, memory, each becomes a canvas for excess. To feel everything, to become sensation, that is the promise that is a trap. Okay, so now here's maybe an interesting question. What of the non-human senses, if there's a sense outside that, is there one that you would want? Like a good example, I guess, off the top of my head would be like a snake, and when they can like taste kind of the scent or whatever they're kind of up to. They can taste prey and stuff in the air. I'll Google some senses here, and we'll find out.
I was gonna say that's tough because I don't have any senses that I don't have. So it's like asking someone what it's like to have a tail. Like I don't know. I've never had one.
Okay.
I
No,
think
but what one would you want? Would you want a tail, Christian? You want that prehensile tail that you can get? Yeah.
maybe that ability maybe is what he's talking about. So I would say either some kind of infrared or heat vision or echolocation would be really cool.
Echolocation or heat vision, either one would be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd go with X-ray vision, and then I would charge myself out to hospitals to do X-ray scans on people.
Okay. Okay. That's
Genius.
yeah,
I just
man.
you got to capitalize on it, man. If it's the only
This man's thinking ahead.
yeah.
Fucking heck yeah. Some other senses are, as you mentioned, echolocation, electroreception. So that's where sharks, rays, and fish can detect weak electrical fields in water, helping them find prey. So that's pretty cool.
Sure, but like, how would you use that practically? Again, that sounds like it'd be annoying. You're like swimming, and all you feel is like things in the water. Like that would be
that you then go hunt and kill because your sword needs you to do that. Remember, this was the deal.
Right. Sorry, my bad.
Or just feeling the things in the water. You're feeling things. You're feeling sensation. That's what Slaanesh wants too. So
yeah, but it's like you'd be used to it. It'd be like your hearing. It's not aggravating, just like normal day hearing.
Sure, but like, what can you do with it? What do you get? You can't swim like a shark, so it's not like you're eating raw fish in your mouth. Like they're just always gonna be out of reach.
Okay, well, let me give you a couple more. Infrared vision, magnetic reception. We use magnetic fields for navigation, like birds, migratory birds kind of use that. So that one, Christian, you would always be able to find Sentry Box no matter where in the world you go. You could always go back to your local hobby shop.
Find myself home. Yeah.
Polarized light vision, vibrational wave detection. That one would be fun to be a sound marine, you know, and you're just like basing out and you're just super fucked. Yeah. There's a couple more we're trying to get through. Enhanced smell, that's fucking weak. Chemoception.
What is that?
Oh, that one's okay. Animals can detect chemicals in their environment through chemoreceptors, which can be found on their skin, in their mouth, or their antennae. So
that's the snake one you're talking about, like tasting.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, tasting with the tongue.
Yeah. Lateral line. Yeah, that's all. Enhanced touch.
I like to think that all Slaaneshi cultists and or Marines do have like all those things or some of those things. So yeah, they were baseline human, but now that they're like in the cult of Slaanesh, like they can taste the air. They can, you know, like, and again, like to them, it's not even just about like what would they prefer. It's just like it all gives them sensation. It's all stimulation that they're sensing, they're craving.
Yeah.
So it's like synesthesia on steroids.
Yeah.
I can hear colors. I can taste sounds.
Yeah. But you enjoy it too. Like it's all good. Yeah.
But there is an issue with all of that because this is all a big old allegory for addiction. So let's talk about that now. Born in a scream of ecstasy and ruin, Slaanesh devoured its creators, the Eldari, in an orgy of soul-rending bliss. That first taste of divine pleasure became its curse. The hunger never faded. Now it chases sensation through its cults. Every cry, every kiss, every exquisite scream is a thread in the great tapestry of indulgence. It gifts power, beauty, and prowess, artistry, and curses with craving. The more its followers feel, the more they need. A bolter's recoil, a dancer's final breath, a whispered betrayal, all pleasures are shared with a dark prince. Even the triumphs of Khorne's killers, Nurgle's dreamers, and Tzeentch's schemers feed its addiction. To serve Slaanesh is to chase a high that never ends, and to love the fall that never stops.
Okay. Tell me about your addictions, boys. What are you addicted to that you can't go without? give me your darkest secrets. Yeah, no, addiction's crazy. I don't know if I really had like a serious addiction or anything, but fuck, man, I do love Warhammer. So maybe I'm still in the denial phase of my addiction.
It's a comfortable place.
Yes, Inquisitor. I think we found a keeper of secrets here.
He's been seducing everyone for years through a podcast, making them also the same addiction.
Yeah, I'm trying to ascend. Get enough people into my cult and maybe it'll happen. Slaanesh offers many gifts. You know, you can get addicted to things, but there are benefits to that addiction. Now, maybe you get addicted to your third hand that you like, and you really just only use that one now. So now it's almost like you're a one-handed person because you refuse to use anything but your third.
It's a very specific thing to say.
Oh boy.
Do you have another hand that you're not telling anyone about?
Been doing some weird things on the island. Experiments, some people would call them.
Gone down.
Abominations.
Subscribe to our Only Lore Hammers for the full access.
See some chicken heads attached to monkey bodies and all other kinds of depraved madness on the island of Mark. All right. Other gifts of Slaanesh might include combat drugs. The bearer becomes addicted to the potent combat drugs that enhance their physical abilities, granting them unnatural speed and strength at the cost of their sanity. Just a little sidebar. I like that they included that a lot more in the new Slaanesh Emperor's Children models that they've come out. There's like little syringes, there's lots of chemicals and stuff in their backpacks and things. So leaning a lot heavier into the combat drugs and stimulants.
Yeah, yeah.
Demon weapons. A demonette inhabits the weapon, which is imbued with a corrupted sentience that revels in the destruction it brings. Demonic name. The gift is bestowed with a secret name, a twisted combination of impossible sounds that bind their soul more tightly to Slaanesh's will. How can Slaanesh be so bad if she's given away all these gifts?
Good question. Yeah.
The same reason Nurgle gives away a lot of gifts, but no one seems to want those gifts.
Ungrateful.
Yeah, not as good as a gift giver for sure. Doom Siren, that's a cool gift. A devastating weapon of sound. It transforms the bearer's war cries into a lethal sonic blast that disorients and destroys. Did you guys see that clip? It came out like a month ago of these protests and the sonic weapon that split the crowd.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild shit. Sonic weapons.
Yeah, they've been around for a bit. Like I remember seeing like documentaries and stuff from like years and years ago where it was like in the experimental phase though.
Yeah. And like, you hear about it in Cuba a lot in like Havana syndrome, but like to see like that crowd like just part ways and like not a single person could stand against that sonic weapon. It doesn't matter who the fuck you were.
I wonder, I do want to like what is it? Is it super high pitched? Is it super low? Like, does it make you feel nauseous? Like,
I remember seeing a similar documentary a few years ago, back when it was in its experimental phase, and it was like literally the operators had to wear like specialized headphones to completely block it out, because otherwise it was just like a directed just noise that was just like way too high of a decibel for anybody to feasibly deal with if it was like directed right at you.
Crazy.
So
weird feeling, I'm sure. The face of Slaanesh. The bearer's visage becomes a reflection of Slaanesh's perfect allure, compelling all who gaze upon it to submit to the temptations of the Dark Prince. And the gaze of Slaanesh. The champion's gaze alone stuns their enemies, slowing them to point where they are powerless to resist the champion's will. That's that blue steel from Zoolander.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that, both of you are now attracted to me.
Subscribe to the Patreon to see Mark's blue steel.
Oh boy. Wait a minute. I think his picture is changing. Scarlett Johansson?
He becomes what you most desire.
Oh my. Oh wait.
Why am I still me, Christian? Why?
You know why, Mark.
Some other gifts of Slaanesh. You get to be a hermaphrodite. The bearer's body morphs into an androgynous form, embodying both genders in a single, disturbingly attractive, yet sexless figure. Interesting.
Neat.
Have you ever seen a Barbie doll? Yeah. Just
basically.
Nothing there.
The lash of despair, a whip of impossible speed and precision, it lashes out with cruel efficiency, inflicting agonizing pain on all it strikes. Whoosh! Thank you, sir. May I have another? The needle of desire. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a despair. You shouldn't be asking for more. It makes you sad.
It makes you sad, but it makes you so sad that you want more of it, because Slaanesh is just fucking contradictory like that.
It hurts so good.
It hurts so good. The needle of desire, a venomous double-ended needle that injects a potent toxin, causing victims to fall into a delirium of ecstasy before succumbing to the poison. 1001 senses. The bearer's senses are expanded to unnatural levels, perceiving the world in ways that no mortal could comprehend. So basically, take all the senses that we talked about a moment ago and just slam it into one body. There you go.
And then add a 90 more.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then crank them all up to 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colors are just so much more vibrant and just
No, they're not even like colors at that point, man. It's like something like you can't even comprehend it. You ever done acid? It's like that, but better. Oh shoot, I'm getting Slaanesh is calling me again. Dial it back.
Dial it back. Temperance.
Temperance, Mock. Temperance.
You're gonna be like, wow, what are those people that are in like all the temperance movements? You'll be wearing a suit and not the inventor of cornflakes. Yeah, there you go. All right. Other gifts include the Rapturous Standard, a banner that sings of forbidden pleasures, its presence heightening the desire and lust of all who encounter it. The Scream of Slaanesh, a bone-chilling howl that emanates from the champion, disorienting and stunning all those within hearing range. Sonic Blasters, weapons of pure sound. They release waves of destructive sonic energy capable of tearing apart enemies in an instant. And Steeds of Slaanesh, sleek, fast, and deadly demonic steeds. These creatures are perfect mounts for those who serve the Dark Prince, offering unmatched speed and power.
Cool.
We talked about steeds, right, in the demons episode?
Yeah, and their long licking tongues. They're like little anteaters on like they're like velociraptor anteaters almost.
Yeah, with eel-like bodies on
Yeah.
2 little legs. Yes,
Very nice.
very seductive.
very very seductive. I'll tell you what. The most alluring a gift of all is demonhood. To ascend to demonhood in the service of Slaanesh is to indulge in the pinnacle of excess. It is not earned through toil or struggle, but through the pursuit of pleasure, unrestrained and boundless. Only those who surrender themselves to the allure of excess, who bathe in the ecstasy of self-indulgence, can hope to be chosen by the Dark Prince. Those who rise to do so amid intoxication and lust, their mortal forms twisted and reshaped in the fires of decadence. Flesh becomes fluid, sensation becomes salvation, and restraint is discarded like a forgotten memory. A demon of Slaanesh is not a god, it is a manifestation of desire. A creature born from the endless cravings for more. It lives only to indulge, to corrupt, to push the boundaries of pleasure beyond imagination. To serve Slaanesh is to be born in the eternal cycle of excess and call it enlightenment. So fuck, man, if I got my demonhood form, it would be plastic. Is he gray plastic, that guy? That's his final form. I'm like, yes! Take me off the gray sprue! Unleash me!
Clip.
Yes, Gerald!
So smooth plastic.
Yeah, that's
Glue
my
him.
ultimate Slaaneshi demonhood form.
We're going to glue you together, Mark, but you're not going to appreciate what the glue is made of.
Or will he? So now we're going to put a little bit of paint on it with blood for the blood god made with actual blood and some Nurgle's rot made with some we're not going to go into that.
Only 2 colors I get, red and brown, eh? Great. Shit and piss. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say there was a special pot of Valhalla and Blizzard, but I also won't go into where that came from. Okay. This is getting us really... Anyways, Slaaneshi corruption, which is definitely not happening to us right now.
Slowly it is, actually. Just saying that for Lorehammer legal reasons, it is.
Lorehammer Lee.
Slowly corrupting you, but carry on.
Fair enough. To fall to Slaanesh is not to plummet all at once, but to float, drifting on velvet tides of sensation, lulled ever downward by the lure of indulgence. At first it is beauty, the way a note hangs in the air, the brush of silk, a whispered secret in the dark. Those who hear the Prince of Pleasure's call find themselves suddenly alive in ways that they have never imagined. Colors deepen, sounds blossom into symphonies. Every taste, every breath becomes an intoxicant. But like all highs, it fades, and when it does, the cravings begin. No longer will a single song suffice. Now one must hear a choir of screaming voices raised in worship. No longer will the warmth of another suffice. One must feel the agony of their dying breath against their lips. And so begins the spiral, ever downward, ever inward, towards ecstasy, towards ruin. The cult of excess takes many forms. It may be hidden in the salons of hive nobles, masked balls and whispered orgies behind golden doors. It may rise in the underhive dens where addicts chase sensation through electric pulse and flesh-forged pain. It may ride upon the stage in performances so exquisite, so violent, that they leave the audience sobbing, bleeding, begging for more. No place is immune to tainted beauty turned rot. In these cults, bodies are canvases and the soul is the palette. Skin is dyed and cut, muscles reshaped, bones snapped and regrown in the name of perfection. They wear emotion like perfume, grief, joy, terror, arousal, all blurring into one delicious, unending experience. With every gasp and cry, they honor Slaanesh, the perfect one, the Lord of Excess, to create, to destroy, to feel. These are their sacraments. The prince rewards her devotees with gifts more terrible and glorious than any other god. A tongue that tastes emotion, eyes that see sound, synesthesia, everybody, flesh that feels the presence of souls. Some become walking art pieces, living sculptures of writhing limbs, moaning mouths, and instruments fused to bones. Others are changed more subtly, their beauty so perfect it brings weeping madness to those who see it. Even among mortals, the cult of excess wages war in its own way. They do not always march with bolters and blades. They corrupt. They seduce. A single whisper in the ear of a senator, a masterpiece unveiled that drives viewers to suicide. A new narcotic that burns away inhibition and lets the soul scream its darkest desires. Cities have fallen to such subtle invasions, entire worlds reduced to theaters of grotesque celebration. And still, they are unsatisfied. Because with Slaanesh there is always more, more to feel, more to want, more to lose. It is the curse of the devotee that every pleasure becomes torment, and every torment a pleasure. They laugh as they weep, dance as they burn, and cry out in praise, even as they are unmade. For in the end, every whisper or desire, every hidden wish, every desperate craving is a prayer, and Slaanesh hears them all.
It's so fleeting and like meaningless. Like it's already feeling bad in my mouth now, but I still
I
kind
don't
of
know.
want it.
I'm a little aroused.
Yes, you want it now? It's like you're eating your chocolate cake and it turns to ash in your mouth. And then the ash in your mouth tastes good after it tastes bad, and it's like this flickering like nonsense.
I was just saying, this is making me think of that line from the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. The drink would not satisfy. Food turned to ash in our mouths. And the most pleasurable company could not slake our lust.
Yeah, like it just would suck all of a sudden.
Is literally what it is, yeah. But also, like you said, Mark, in that like you find yourself eating ash, and the next thing you're like eating dirt, and then you're like chasing that taste, right? Like it corrupts and perverts. Let's talk about spawndom. Chaos spawn of Slaanesh are the grotesque remnants of those who sought perfection and pleasure, but were consumed by their own insatiable desires. Once revelers in excess, they plunged too deeply into decadence, their mortal forms torn apart by the need for more sensation, more indulgence, more oblivion. Their bodies mutate into twisted, beautiful horrors, forever craving what they can never truly attain. These spawn are not weaklings or failures. They are the addicts of the cult of excess, those who sacrificed all to feed their cravings, only to be discarded when they had nothing left to give. Yet still they revel. Still they indulge, their warped bodies seeking pleasure in every agonizing form. They are the damned echoes of excess, abandoned by their god, but never free from the hunger that shaped them. Yeah, what a horrific existence.
Yeah, you could just see some awful forms that would take place, either like the super engorged form of just like ultra excess, or like maybe the form is emaciated because they don't take care of themselves. They just do one thing over and over, and now they're like this like withered husk of a spawn. Yeah, it's a horrible fate for that one. Like a lot of the other gods, when you get turned into a spawn, it's still kind of fun. You're a chaos spawn for Khorne, still very fun. Chaos spawn for Tzeentch, you're like flickering and twisting, and you're still technically worshiping your god kind of well. But this one it's sloppy.
It's messy.
Yeah.
And not even in a way Nurgle likes it. So
yeah, people are always coming up to you and fucking the spawn. You're like, stop! I was a person once.
oh no.
It's the worst.
Oh no.
Oh, I drank at the wrong time. Oh my gosh. Mark, you really are going down the path of depravity.
This is like the last time we talk about Chaos Gods for a long time, so get it out of my system.
And of course, you chose the worst god to do it with.
Yeah. Notable forces of the cult of excess, and then it has my name next to it. And I assume it means me, I'm the noble force, but it could also mean I should read it. So, like the other chaos god, Slaanesh's intoxicating call reverberates through the fabric of the universe, drawing seekers of pleasure into his cult of excess. Souls who offer themselves not for power, but for the ecstasy of indulgence and for the unrelenting pursuit of sensation. Where Tzeentch weaves webs of change and Khorne demands bloodshed, Slaanesh faithful abandon themselves to the limitless indulgence, surrendering all to the pursuit of pleasure, no matter the cost. They care nothing for restraint or consequence, only for the next taste, the next high. The cult of excess spreads not through subtlety, but through rapturous screams and endless revelry. All who embrace Slaanesh know one truth. In the end, only desire consumes and only excess satisfies the Dark Prince. Yeah.
And even then, it's not enough.
Even then, it won't ever be enough. So we start off with the big notable, followers of Slaanesh, and that's his Chaos Space Marines.
Oh yeah, I mean, other than maybe the guard cultists, but Chaos Space Marines are the most notable. We'll go into why. Chaos Space Marines who fall to Slaanesh are not drawn by ambition or duty, but by the intoxicating allure of excess and the sweet pool of indulgence. They do not seek conquest or dominion, they seek only pleasure, boundless and unrestrained. These warriors abandon all for the pursuit of sensation, offering themselves entirely to the Dark Prince through hedonistic excess and unquenchable lust. Their armor is adorned with smooth, sensuous curves, their body remade in the image of indulgence, and their minds consumed by endless desire. They revel in decadence, embracing every temptation where each experience is a worship, and every act of indulgence a prayer. To serve Slaanesh is to live for pleasure alone, luxurious, addictive, and forever hungry for more.
Yeah, Chris, you kind of mentioned, like, to have a Chaos Space Marine, you already got a couple extra built-in senses or a couple extra kind of factors that make you already above the regular human and ready. Maybe you don't feel pain as much, so you can take more, whatever it may be, but really good candidates for Slaanesh's corruption.
Their inherent physiology is just the perfect avenue for it. Slaanesh and the Emperor's Children. The Emperor's Children, once a proud legion renowned for their pursuit of perfection in every form, fell to Slaanesh with an almost inevitable grace. Their obsession with beauty, discipline, and the flawless execution of warfare made them ripe for corruption. As they sought to push the boundaries of what meant to be perfect, they unknowingly invited the whispering temptations of Slaanesh, the Dark Prince of excess. Slaanesh's allure is seductive in its promise of ultimate fulfillment, and the Emperor's Children, ever in pursuit of the sublime, embraced it with open arms, trading their oaths of purity for the indulgence of sensory extremes. Their transformation into Slaanesh's devoted servants was not a mere surrender, it was a euphoric awakening. The Legion's thirst for perfection was no longer limited to battle or their physical forms, but extended to the pursuit of all pleasures, sensory and beyond. They reveled in excess, not just through the acts of indulgence, but through an intricate dance of pain and pleasure, beauty and suffering. The Emperor's Children's greatest warriors became noise marines, their bodies reshaped and enhanced to experience the highest levels of ecstasy. Their weapons turned into instruments of torment, that could leave entire battlefields soaked in the sonic chaos of destructive desires. The Legion's once disciplined formations became an orchestra of sensation, each scream, each note of agony, a verse in their endless hymn to Slaanesh. The relationship between the Emperor's children and Slaanesh transcended that of simple worship. It became a symbiosis, where the Dark Prince nurtured their perfection while they offered him the endless indulgence of their depravity. Their former discipline was twisted into an art form of hedonism, where the only goal was the pursuit of excess in every moment. Slaanesh, in turn, provided them with gifts, transcendent abilities to experience the universe in ways unimaginable to mortals, and the power to shape their bodies and minds into unholy paragons of pleasure and pain. The Emperor's children are no longer bound by the notion of what is good or right. They are the living embodiments of Slaanesh's promises, spreading his influence with every act of excess and every note of madness.
We did an episode on them already. I didn't write down, but maybe I'll do a quick search. Yeah, they are quite the interesting Legion. Just watching them change and go to debauchery and, seeing them go from the Emperor's parade Legion, his fine, fancy Legion to what they become. Yeah, not good.
Yeah. And like a lot of this, again, you can go back and listen to those episodes, especially around Fulgrim, is like through the corruption of the Lear sword and their Primarch. But a lot of their attitudes and the way they was already like a ripe field for that corruption.
Yeah.
Once that corruption started, it just sweeps through the whole Legion. A couple of loyalist holdouts, but for the most part, it consumes them.
Yeah. So that was The Emperor's Children was episode 140, 141, 142, and 143. So definitely go listen to them if you're interested in like Slaanesh's champions. There's a bunch of war bands too that come from The Emperor's Children, but just like the other main war bands or other main gods like the World Eaters, we're just going to ignore them for now. Focus on some other war bands that aren't necessarily from The Emperor's Children. The Violators is the first one we'll talk about. And the Violators wear armor lacquered in shimmering violets and iridescent silvers, often sweating with perfumes, oils, and blood sweat ichor of ritual sacrifice. Their icon is a barbed kiss, two lips pierced by a needle. Their devotees implant neural webs and pleasure nodes that surge ecstasy through their body with every movement, pain blooming it into rupture. Each cultist is a living hymn to Slaanesh, endlessly reshaped by divine whim to taste deeper and feel longer. Flesh becomes an altar of indulgence, swollen with sensation. For many, the armor is fused to the skin, a second layer of blissful torment. Only in sacred revels or before the most exquisite enemy do they bear their twisted perfection as an offering and a promise. And then I got one note about battle here, and that's in 999 M41, the 13th Black Crusade, operating deep in the Cadian sector, deep in the Cadians. The cult seized cathedrals and concert halls, turning them into theaters of slaughter. They recruited en masse from heretic choirs and chem-addled patients, bathing entire hive levels in sensation and song before moving on, drunk on agony. Hell of a way to start a Space Marine chapter, or keep one going. You go to Hive World, you just start drugging people up, kidnapping them, and turning into Space Marines. Fuck it.
I mean, isn't that kind of what the Loyalists do too? So,
oh,
you know what?
Wait a minute.
Right.
Hold on a second.
The click in my mind. Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Huh. Maybe the heretics are all the friends we made along the way.
That was the orphans from the hat block you snorted when you liquefied them.
I also like these guys, just the thought of them kind of fused inside their armor, but they're still sweating through the seams, and it smells sweet because they're on so many sweet chemicals, and like, yeah, just kind of fun. You just want to lick it, you know?
It's taking him again. Somebody stop it. Somebody purge the demons.
Somebody get me my shirt.
Where's my bolt gun?
Yeah, but like on that armor note too, Mark, I like to think that they can feel through their armor. Like if you brush their arm, you're not just brushing a plate. Like he can feel your touches if you're touching his arm or skin underneath.
Yeah. Like the hairs on his arm have like grown into and fused with the pauldrons and like have woven through it. Like, ugh.
It's exquisite. I love it.
Exquisite.
One important thing you mentioned a little bit earlier there too is like, yeah, not all war bands are from these from the legions that fell. I think it's an important distinction, right? Like, just because you're a Space Marine warband that worships Slaanesh doesn't mean you have to descend from the Emperor's children.
Yeah, and just because you're an Emperor's children doesn't mean you have to be a Slaaneshi follower. Like, there definitely are some that fall to Khorne. Chinch is the one that's like slightly different. You have to be a little more careful. Like, Rubik Marines can't fall to Khorne. They don't have that conscious ability anymore for that. But you could maybe have like a sorcerer, like a high up sorcerer from the Thousand Suns kind of fall. But
Yeah, or you use like other Marines and other rules for it, because again, not all rubric Marines have to be Chinch Marines either, right? Like, it could just be a warband, right?
Yeah.
Of regular Marines.
Yep. And then you got ones like the Black Legion, which they take everybody. They're not just reformed Sons of Horus.
yeah.
So,
Welcome one and all.
indeed, as long as you hate the Imperium, you're hired.
Yeah. Few things bring people together as much as hatred. I found that through this podcast.
Ironically enough.
Yeah, the hatred. I get one of two messages. It's either fuck Christian or, something about Lorehammer Legal, which I quickly forward off to them.
Excessively so, one might add. But hey, there's another Chaos Warband. It's called the Flawless Host, which sounds very much like an offshoot of Emperor's Children, but let's find out more. The Flawless Host are Chaos Space Marine warband. Autopsies of their fallen reveal bodies saturated with hyperstimulants and pleasure serums, designed to flood every nerve with ecstasy in the heat of battle. The warband does not merely conquer, they transform planets into stages for their decadent visions, where agony and rapture are indistinguishable. If anybody remembers the Fulgrim book from the Horus Heresy, I think it's the Maraviglia, if I'm pronouncing that right. This just sounds like another recreation of...
Somebody needs to read that comment, I think.
Christian, would you like to do the honors?
Yes, go ahead.
No, you, Christian, you read it.
Liar in the chat says, I'm in the, quote, fuck Christian group, but it's mostly sexual. I was going to mention that. It's either they want to, is what they're saying.
Yeah, I never considered that.
They're not mad at me. It's actually the other direction.
Yeah, that's a whole new light I'm looking at you under now, that half the world wants to fuck or fight you.
It is usually both.
Yeah.
Okay. That distraction aside...
What do you do if, I'm just trying to be a good wingman for Liar, hooking him up with Christian, maybe we can make something happen between the two by the end of the episode.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Let's just keep the episode going, and maybe Slaanesh's taint will just...
Yes, Slaanesh's taint is what we're all after here. Go on.
Once the Shining Blades, their origins were marked by discipline and reputation for virtuous perfection, but victory bred arrogance, where their unmatched splendor was doubted during the Berillia massacre of 498 M34. They erupted in a glorious slaughter, unable to bear the insult. That moment of indulgent wrath opened them fully to Slaanesh's embrace, and they emerged anew as the Flawless Host. They participated in the Fifth Black Crusade, turning the agri worlds of Galvan II and Galvan IV into twisted gardens of excess. Through the centuries, they overtook worlds like Vildad Prime, Laudamus, and Sidenius, making them in their own image feasts of suffering and sound. In early M42, the Flawless Host joined the Black Legion in the War of the Beasts on Vigilus. Later, they enslaved the artisan world of Novaris, demanding its endless instruments of pain and beauty. Their reign ended only with the Indominus Crusade, when the Silver Templars drove them off. Lord Lyrius, Soul Slaver, perished in glorious ruin, slain by Captain Ducasse of the First Company. Lord Lyrius, Soul Slaver. And even I thought GW was a little too on the nose sometimes.
Yeah, that one's bad. Yeah. That's like Star Killer, Star Walker. What is it? Skywalker. Fuck yeah. Count Dooku. What is that even?
At least that one's made up. I will say that Soul Slaver could have been a title that he adopted after the fact. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
His parents didn't look at him and be like, yeah, looks like a Soul Slaver to me. All right. The Sirens of Agony. The Sirens of Agony are a noise marine warband devoted utterly to Slaanesh. Their worship of sensation through sound has twisted their biology and minds. Sirens wear sealed helms that blind them to all but screaming beauty of noise. Each battle is a concert of agony, and their cultist throngs follow suit, mutilating their bodies so hearing is the only remaining sense. Deafened to pain, deafened to doubt, they are vessels of exquisite torment. So, like most heavy metal band followers. That's actually really cool. I'd like to see someone model those where they're like got blinders and stuff on. You could use like models like the Unmade from Warhammer Fantasy, where they're like chopping off limbs and like cutting out their eyes and stuff. Would be very cool.
Yeah. It reminded me of that warband you kind of have, where they remove a sense to try to enhance another one or something like that.
That's the reverse, but we'll get into it we'll do a dedicated episode. But yes,
okay.
Similar idea, but in reverse. Yeah.
Oh my!
You'll get to learn all about my Slaaneshi warband. All right, the history of the Sirens of Agony. In the chaos following the Great Rift's birth, the Sirens unleashed the strike cruiser Pain Eterna upon the Dark Angel's warship Pride of the Lion. What began as a sonic bombardment turned into a rapturous boarding. But the Deathwing proved resilient, launching a counter-assault, drenched in blood and fury. The Siren's song was silenced when the Eterna's bridge was taken in brutal melee. Their harmony broken, but never truly ended. Cool. That's also cool that the whole warband is Noise Marines. Like, Noise Marines are a subset of Chaos Marines that worship Slaanesh. So their whole warband is just this one type of Marine, which is cool.
Yeah.
And it probably has like a certain number of members, just like a rock band. I like to think it's like a rock band that just has like the really dedicated fans. They're all wearing t-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a crazy battlefield that they would leave. They'd like fire their weapons and be like popping humans with sound and just mulching and liquefying them essentially with sound. Yeah. Oof.
Just hear like the very first note of Freebird, and it's just like, and then you just turn to mush.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Freebird.
10 seconds of your life.
All right, we'll move now into some renegades and cults. Move away from the Chaos Space Marines. Mortals, renegades, and cultists who fall to Slaanesh are not seekers of duty or control. They're revelers who have cast off all inhibition to embrace the intoxicating thrill of excess. Some who have broken under the weight of desire, while others are lost in ecstasy of indulgence. They do not suffer, they indulge. They do not resist, they crave. Slaanesh's cultists are decadent, pleasure-drenched worshippers who preach not with silence, but with abandon. Their faith is etched in the sharpest delights, their devotion measured in the depths of indulgence. They revel in excess, screaming in ecstasy with every touch. Whether composed of rogue or ecstatic zealots, all who serve Slaanesh know one truth. Only in indulgence is their freedom, and only in excess is their salvation. I like that little bit about a control part. Like, yeah, people are trying to control. Like we talked about Khorne, where people who fall to Khorne are often people who feel weak and frail. You know, they got in a fist fight and lost, and like, I don't want that fucking to happen again. Khorne, give me strength. But yeah, with the cultists, it's not about that control. It's the exact opposite with Slaanesh.
You just want that total freedom to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yep. Or to even have people do whatever they want to you. Fuck it. That's part of the fun too. Have my body. Yeah.
I'm not part of this cult because I want something. I am a part of it because you want something.
That's the spirit, Gerald.
No.
Now get on the table.
What's happening?
Get on the table. My
man.
body, your choice. Liar says.
Oh,
Oh man.
Grimlore Legal does not seek to does not condone this line of thinking.
No,
Please don't take it out of context. Oh man. But we have some other cultists, and I remember this from the Zinch episode. We talked about Zongors. Well, now Slaanesh has her own variety called Slongors. That just sounds really bad.
Sounds like a goat you want to fuck for sure. Definitely does.
And
Come
you
on,
lost me.
give me them digits. Let me have her number.
But here's these digits. So,
No, the hoof digits, man. I want to see them.
oh, I got nothing. Sorry.
Oh, slang gores, man. Yeah, these dirty beast men, these ab humans, these like beasts of chaos almost. Somebody started these creatures in a weird way and nobody's talking about exactly how. But here we
I haven't
are.
even read it, but I'm already drawing up the image of like the mythological Greek horny satyrs and all this. And I'm not.
Yeah, put an
Anyways.
auto gun in their hands and you got it pretty well dialed in.
In their hands or somewhere else. Beast. Beastmen are abhuman creatures twisted by the dark powers of chaos into grotesque half-animal, half-human beings. The Slongors are a particularly depraved sect of beastmen, following the seductive and hedonistic teachings of Slaanesh, the chaos god of excess, pleasure, and indulgence. These creatures are embodiments of sensuality and debauchery, their bodies marked by excess in every form. Slongors are a disturbing sight. Their fur is white or near white, their pale skin almost translucent, with eyes glowing green and often wide and saucer-like, reminiscent of Daemonettes. Their horns are twisted, often resembling those of a bull, symbolizing the raw, primal lust they channel in their devotion to Slaanesh. They bear the rune of Slaanesh, either etched or painted across their bodies, an indelible mark of their servitude to the god of excess. These beastmen revel in the pursuit of all-consuming pleasure, whether through violence, indulgence, or in the pleasures of the flesh, or the subjugation of others to their whim. Their armor and war gear are as extravagant and as decadent as their nature, crafted from a mix of corrupted materials and the spoils of their hedonistic pursuits. Slongor armor is often adorned with excesses, spiked plates, flowing ribbons of silk, and decadent, decorative elements that serve both to protect and to flaunt their mastery of indulgence. Weapons are similarly opulent, with curved blades, whips, and cruelly barbed spears that reflect Slaanesh's obsession with beauty and pain. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Each weapon is both a tool of destruction and a symbol of their undying devotion to the Chaos God, as they fight with the same passion they devote to every other aspect of their lives.
Yeah, fucking cool. They're just so dialed in. Like, we talk about the value of souls sometimes. Like, we got Eldar that are super valuable. They just last a long time. It's like a jawbreaker, an Eldar soul. You just suck on it for many, many years. I wonder where, like, the Beastmen kind of falls on this soul scale. Like, if maybe even they're higher than humans. It seems like almost all Beastmen fall to one of the Chaos Gods, and the Chaos Gods love it and give them all these powers and stuff.
I don't know about all, because you often see, I was wondering that too early on, was that you often see, I don't know about often, but you do see beastmen like recruited into like the Imperial Guard Auxilia and stuff, which is kind of dangerous and sketchy if you think about it, but they do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, where is that line? How many fall? Like, it's still considered a stable enough thing that the Imperium even allows it in the first place, so maybe that many don't fall. Hard to say.
In the Warhammer Fantasy side of things, Beastmen are like their own faction, and they are considered like the true children of chaos, because even the Chaos Gods themselves can't rein them in, because they just basically follow their own herd and just do whatever they want, essentially.
Yeah.
It sounds like true chaos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of wish they were more something like that in 40k too, instead of just being abhumans, because then it just leads, or if they were abhumans that the Imperium would just like execute on sight kind of thing, because it just gets kind of muddled with, yeah, they're stable and we accept them, but also they're really associated and tied with chaos.
Yeah. But they're just so cute, so you got to keep them around. Look at those fuzzy little legs. They don't even need pants.
It's a goat man, Mom.
It's a goat man.
Oh, I saw something in the comments about bleeding, so
The bleeding means no. I think that's in reference to my advances on a certain type of animal.
Oh no.
Some might say the origins of the beastmen, but
Oh no.
we'll move to other less savory topics. Let's get into House Glaw. House Glaw, once a prestigious noble family on the planet Gudrun, was part of the original 26 Venerables, the first noble houses established after Gudrun's colonization. Their wealth and power were unmatched, and their influence spread through dealings with the regal bonded merchant guild of Senesius, a powerful trading cartel. However, beneath their noble facade, a dark influence began to take root. Pontius Glaw, the seventh son of Patriarch Oberon Glaw, succumbed to the temptations of chaos, leading a cabal of Slaaneshi cultists. Their worship of Slaanesh, driven by hedonistic desires and the pursuit of excessive pleasure, spread through the family like a virus. The cult reveled in the forbidden pleasures, indulging in sensory excess and corrupting everything in their path. The cult of excess remained hidden for some time until the Inquisition, led by Inquisitor Absalom Angevin and his retinue, including the future Inquisitor Commodus Voke, discovered their heresy. Pontius was eventually hunted down and killed, but the family's corruption did not end there. 2 centuries later, Inquisitors Voke and Eisenhorn returned to Gudrun, investigating strange activity. Eisenhorn, disguised as a merchant, uncovered the truth. House Glaw was still involved with chaos, seeking to resurrect Pontius using the Necrotic, a powerful chaos artifact. The family's noble mask finally shattered, revealing their depravity. Eisenhorn's capture led to a swift inquisitorial purge, and House Glaw was destroyed, their estate ruined. Lord Oberon managed to escape, only to die on a Ceruthi planet in a battle against Imperial forces. Pontius's essence, kept in a crystal known as the Pontius, was destroyed, ending the threat of House Glaw. Alas Quartorzi, the last known member of House Glaw, now wanders the galaxy, her whereabouts unknown. Her fate remains a mystery, lost to the passage of time. The fall of House Glaw is a grim reminder of the dangers of excess and the corrupting influence of Slaanesh.
Cool. Plain Jane says that's a cool twist on the seventh son trope. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and as we know, Slaanesh's number is 7. There's a cool Khorne regiment of like Khorne's Cadian 888s or 666 or something like that. But Slaanesh, yeah, you could do that too with some of these.
Slaanesh is 6.
Oh, Slaanesh is 6. Yeah, sorry. Nurgle is 7.
Yeah, the way you remember that is just replacing the I with the E.
Oh, simple. Okay, a little swaparoo.
Well, here's a little joke for you. Why do you never play Battleship in German?
Why? Tell me why.
All right, let's say the German alphabet together, folks. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's all I know. Okay. So no Battleship in German. I got you. Fine. That's fine. That's not the cult. We'll start together. That's fine. We'll find something better.
You're really grasping for straws, buddy. Keep on trying, because my resolve is strong here.
The next one we'll go to is the cult of the Hedonic Lord. The cult of the Hedonic Lord was a terrifying manifestation of hedonism and excess, born from the decadent underbelly of Terra. This Slaanesh worshipping cult took root in the vast labyrinth of the Yedonesic block hives, leveraging their influence with the Far Traders Guild to seize control of the Eternity Gate spaceport during a period between M33 and M39. There, the cult's obsession with sensory indulgence and perverse luxury blossomed, their halls filled with debauchery and their followers driven by insatiable need to push every pleasure to its breaking point. The cult's stronghold within the Eternity Gate became a twisted reflection of their faith. Fortresses of excess, opulent and filled with sin, where barricades were hastily constructed to keep out those who would dare challenge their pursuit of ecstasy. Despite numerous attempts by the Adeptus Arbites to break the cult's hold, these hedonistic zealots repelled them time and again. Waves of fanatical cultists high on their own drug desires would swarm the Arbites, beating back the Imperial forces with vicious intensity that would leave the authorities desperate and frustrated. But it was not until the cult of the Hedonic Lord turned its sights on the very heart of the Imperium, the Imperial Palace. That the true horror of their ambitions became clear. The cult, intoxicated by promises of ultimate power and pleasure, planned a sacrilegious strike, using stolen heavy landers and atmospheric barges to launch a direct assault on the Emperor's throne world. They sought not destruction, but the ultimate indulgence, an orgy of death and chaos that would end in corrupting embrace of Slaanesh itself. Isn't that a thought process? No, we're not here for destruction, but ultimately indulgence. Just in that indulgence, it's going to be an orgy of death.
The destruction is incidental.
Yeah, we're not here for that. I'm just going to ruin your ass. It's fine. But wait. When the Adeptus Custodes learned of the cult's plans, they acted swiftly. Deemed a direct threat to the Emperor and the Imperium, a shield company of custodes was dispatched to eradicate the heretics. The ensuing battle was brief but brutal. The Custodes divine with wrath overwhelming the cult's fanatical resistance. In the end, the cult of the hedonic lord was utterly annihilated. Their corrupted bodies scattered like discarded refuse, their twisted dreams of excess crushed under the might of the Emperor's guardians. Yet the legacy of their indulgence lives on, a dark reminder of the seductive dark powers of Slaanesh, where the pursuit of pleasure can lead only to ruin. Fun. I like to think that this kind of cult has its roots in, the siege of Terra. The Emperor's children were kind of in this area doing stuff. I can kind of see this cult, like maybe somebody found a Emperor's children body and still has a little bit of that vial of drug left in them. So they try it and then they get that hit.
Yeah, and after like years and years, like the infection is there spreading. I really like that actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool cult right on Terra itself. There's been a couple times where you're like, Terra, man, you got Gene Stealer cults, you got this cult of excess. I know Harlequins are walking around there. Like, we got to tighten up security borders here.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But now we get to talk from hedonistic cults to pirates, princes of the Ragged Helix. Who's ready for some booty?
Arr, booty!
The pirate princes of the Ragged Helix are a notorious band of hedonistic raiders who dwell in the outer reaches of the Calixis sector. Their loyalty pledged to Slaanesh in a decadent, intoxicating dance of excess. These lords of the void emerged from the treacherous and chaotic expanse of the Ragged Helix, a vast chain of asteroids clinging to the fringes of the screaming vortex. Among the ever-shifting celestial hazards, they have carved out their dominions, fortresses of unrestrained luxury and fortitude, sprawling pirate fleets that are as much a symbol of corruption as they are of power. Here, in the bleak, fractured system, indulgence knows no bounds. The pirate princes are the very definition of excess, surrounded by the pleasures of unimaginable wealth, forbidden luxury, and reckless abandon. From their gilded citadels, they look down on the galaxy below, reveling in their absolute freedom. Freedom not just to take, but to indulge in every primal urge that whispers to them from the abyss. These heretics are untethered from morality, their lives defined by the pursuit of the most intense pleasures, from forbidden luxuries to savage acts of wanton destruction. And don't forget the booty! Their ships, vast, menacing war machines, sail forth from their decadent layers, raiding and pillaging with a reckless abandon that mirrors the chaos of their desires. The tales of their exploits are legendary, as outlandish and lurid as their lives they lead. These pirate lords indulge in every conceivable vice, from glorious feasts to blood-soaked battles, even each action more lavish and extreme than the last. The pirate princes rule their fiefdoms of absolute impunity, their actions dictated by nothing but their capricious whims and ever-changing desires. Despite their domineering power, the pirate princes often clash with the warlords of the vortex, their volatile natures making alliances as fleeting as the next wave of temptation. Yet, in moments of convenience, they may join forces with others of their kind, though no pact ever lasts long. For the pirate princes, loyalty is fleeting, and their loyalty to one another is only as strong as their need to satiate their unquenchable thirst for excess. In the end, the pirate princes are the embodiment of Slaanesh's darkest allure, a glittering facade of pleasure and power, always on the edge of ruin, forever chasing the next thrill, the next indulgence, until there is nothing left but the endless hunger for more. Now, pop quiz chat, am I talking about a human cult, or am I talking about Jukari?
Hmm. A little bit of both, perhaps. Yeah, I like this. Human pirates out in space. Definitely fun always, man, for sure. We talked about one episode, I forget which one, but we talked about like this asteroid spaceport where pirates would get together, and yeah, it's kind of a cool little setting we were building, but pirates definitely fun.
I don't know, Mark. I'm kind of with plain Jane on this one. I'm kind of sold on the pirates.
Yeah, for sure. Just raiding the pot or the shipping lanes and stuff, stealing all the loot. And no, Gerald, I didn't forget the booty either.
And don't forget the booty.
I will not.
Yeah,
man.
pirates are definitely slept on as a faction in 40k because there's a lot you could do with them too. Like different kinds. You could have human pirates, like you said. You could have Dark Eldar Corsairs, like Tau pirates, maybe. No one's ever heard of a Tau pirate before.
Yeah.
I think there is an Eldar Corsair kill team called the Void Scarred. I don't know if that's strictly Corsairs or if that's like a Craft World kill team, but
I thought that was Corsairs specifically, but I could be wrong.
Corsair. So you do have Eldari pirates.
Yeah. And what is the pirate Space Marine faction? Their name is escaping me.
Oh, yeah, the Red Corsairs.
Yeah, Red Corsairs.
Mm-hmm.
They're super popular too in the community. So again, like pirates and 40k, match made in hell. Very popular.
It's the pegs that do it for me, but our booty.
Liar says, just wait till you can figure out you can put the peg and the booty together. Now you're having a good time.
All right, moving on. The Flesh Shapers of Melancholia. The Flesh Shapers are among the most decadent and depraved of Slaanesh's followers. Born of the planet Melancholia, in the heart of the screaming vortex, their existence is an endless pursuit of indulgence, driven by the irresistible temptations and excesses that suffuse the vortex. These cultists, intoxicated by the swirling maelstrom of sensation, succumb to long-suppressed desires, their emotions spiraling out of control until they are consumed by a single, all-encompassing urge to shape flesh itself. Through their descent into hedonism, they gain the title of Flesh Shaper, an unholy moniker granted to those who possess the ability to manipulate the very flesh of themselves and others. Flesh crafting becomes their art, a twisted form of creation where pain and pleasure are inseparably woven together. These worshippers, now forever marked by Slaanesh's influence, revel in reshaping bodies, molding, warping, and contorting forms in their endless quest for sensory fulfillment. In time, the Flesh Shapers cast aside their former lives, forsaking the mundane to ride upon the fabled chariots of their god, Shornal. Their transformation is total, their new existence defined by unrestrained excess. They become heretics, using their newfound powers to further their depravity within the boundless depths of the vortex, where their expertise in flesh crafting is unparalleled. No longer confined by the limitations of their bodies, they eagerly seek new ways to intensify their pleasures, often turning to forbidden knowledge. In the relentless search for enhancement, many flesh shapers seek the wisdom of the adepts of the Omnissiah. Cybernetics and surgical knowledge become their new tools, allowing them to twist their senses and connect nerves in ever more reckless ways, heightening their experiences into impossible extremes. Their experiments are never confined to themselves. Captives, whom they call sculpulites, are captured, tortured, and transformed into grotesque, living works of art, each a twisted testament to their devotion to Slaanesh. For the Flesh Shapers, their pursuit of excess is never enough. Every new modification, every alteration of body and mind brings them closer to the apex of sensation. And in the never-ending pursuit of pleasure, they find themselves bound to the very essence of chaos itself, where there is always something more to twist, more to savor, and more to become. Yeah, kind of like with the pirates too. You kind of get similar hallmarks or themes that kind of feed and weave through different war bands and like dedicated groups. So like Slaanesh, often you'll see a lot of flesh shaping and flesh crafting. Dark Eldar do that too through the homunculi cults. The Emperor's Children were doing flesh crafting before their fall to chaos. So yeah, again, you have these kind of like themes or like repeated patterns that weave through them.
So if your friend is making weird stuff like capes, belts, or really anything out of flesh, you might have a Slaaneshi cultist on your hand. You should call somebody.
Yeah, call up their friends so you can get a matching set.
Yeah. We need more cultists. We need more flesh belts.
Flesh belts.
The next cult is the Hollow Cult. The Hollow Cult was an infamous and insidious faction of Slaaneshi worshippers, their devotion manifesting in unrestrained excess and indulgence. In the year 290 M34, they became a devastating force, annihilating nearly the entire Grey Knight's Seventh Brotherhood in a series of orchestrated ambushes that twisted the very fabric of reality itself. With every encounter, the cult's influence spread, isolating each battle brother and drawing them in a delirious spiral of temptation and corruption. The demons of Slaanesh, an intoxicating mixture of desire and decay, overwhelmed their targets in a storm of flesh and sensation. Each ambush was a meticulous dance, a perfect marriage of hedonistic and horrific, where every strike was laced with the promise of perverse pleasure, every wound an invitation to further indulgence. For the Hollow Cult, the line between pain and ecstasy blurred, a powerful force that claimed the Grey Knights one by one. The cultists reveled in the chaos, feeding on the corrupting energies of their conquests, their debauchery boundless and addictive. The Grey Knights retaliated with the intensity born of desperation, their wrath guided by Supreme Grandmaster Khalistan. He gathered the full might of the chapter, their fury an unstoppable tide of purity and steel. Yet the Hollow Cult proved to be an elusive enemy, their tendrils intertwined deeply in the realm of excess, where the mind itself could not escape their influence. In the end, the Hollow Cult was eradicated, but their legacy lingers in whispers, rumors, and forgotten records. Their excesses and hedonistic rituals and their dark allure left the incredible mark on the psyche of those who faced them. Now, only the faded ink in the sanctum sanctorum of the Citadel of Titan serves as a haunting reminder of their unholy influence, a forgotten chapel in the eternal war between order and chaos. Damn, son, that cult killed a whole fucking shit ton of Grey Knights. That's crazy.
And Grey Knights are like super soldiers in comparison to Space Marines, so you know they mean business.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah. Like specifically engineered to kill chaos and chaos things. So yeah.
And then they messed around and they found out, and the Grey Knights sent the whole chapter and eliminated them. I do love that last little bit about the only thing that's left to remember them is in the halls of Titan, whether it's like a banner flapping in their Hall of Heroes or whatever it kind of was. Just kind of that one thing of that honor trophy that the Grey Knights took.
Or even the record of the battle is just like tucked away in a tome.
Even that, yeah.
Yeah.
You see, future recruits, this is what you don't do. But we're going to talk about another faction that can fall to Slaanesh. We're going to talk about night houses. This ought to be very interesting. When an imperial night house falls to Slaanesh, their noble legacy is drowned in indulgence and excess. Once proud banners are cast aside, replaced by shimmering symbols of the Dark Prince. Their war machines no longer march with dignity, but glide into battle as monstrous engines of decadence, their armor adorned with elegant curves, seductive flourishes, and the marks of boundless pleasure.
I don't like that.
I am what you made me, Mark.
I take it all back. I was only joking.
These corrupted knights wield weapons crafted for indulgence, razor-sharp blades that caress as they cut, and cannons that unleash blasts of intoxicating destruction. They do not fight with strategy, but with a desire, seeking only the next thrill, the next act of worship. Each battle is an orgy of excess, each kill a scream of pleasure. They are not just knights, they are Slaanesh's ecstasy made flesh, bringing only sensation, indulgence, and endless hedonism.
Cool, fun little cult.
Mark, don't lie. You're kind of aroused by this, aren't you? You already like
Yeah.
night houses.
Okay, you caught me. I was caught in the fantasy of it all. I could be one of these guys.
He secretly likes my ASMR voiceover. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah, what's interesting about Slaanesh and Knights is we'll give you the little history lesson. You know, Knights came out kind of way back in the day for like epic. So we're talking like 25 years ago type thing. And Knights were kind of a smaller unit. They weren't the big be all end all thing. They had a couple different ones. And night houses rarely fall to chaos back in those days. But there was a couple that did, and when they did, they would turn into like hell knights essentially. And the concept was like when a knight falls from his like lofty morals or whatever, he falls hard and he falls to Slaanesh. So it's they go hard on that. So then somehow they came up with their own knight variants or whatever. And whether these knight variants are still around in like our modern kind of concept of what 40k is, it's questionable. Like we don't have these models anymore. But fuck, man, it's still kind of a cool idea.
Do you think they might have been reworked into some of the newer models, like the Abominant or the Desecrator? I can't think of the current names, but
like maybe, but maybe I should pull up a picture of them and you see that they kind of have a different look to them. Okay, I got here for everyone listening. Just listen a little harder and maybe you with your extrasensory senses can hear what I'm showing. Yeah, as you see, they're a little bit different. I don't know. Maybe they transferred them over and maybe they kind of did a 1-for-1, like the Hell Knight became the Abominable or whatever, but I don't think it's necessarily very clear.
the Hell Knight kind of looks like someone took a steed of Slaanesh and just turned it into a demon engine, or just gave it like armor plating.
Yeah, or like even almost has like Eldar Wraith unit vibes with the sleekness of it and almost kind of like beveled joints and stuff. Lots of beveled limbs, I mean. But
I mean, that part kind of makes sense, though, since Slaanesh came from Eldar overindulgence, as
sure.
that's what we'll call it tonight, so...
Well, let's dive into these different knights. The first one is the Hell Knight, and they're demon engines devoted to Slaanesh, monstrous avatars of desire, fury, and ruinous perfection. Unlike their crude cousin, Hell Knights are elegant killers. Their primary weapon, a short-range thermal cannon, doesn't just destroy, it melts, liquefying steel and flesh in a symphony of agony. Clad in Baroque armor and draped in silken banners, they hunt enemy knights and titans with unmatched grace, striking from flanks in sudden, exquisite ambushes. In packs, their movements are almost hypnotic and murderous. They once brought down Imperial Titan Presio Dietis in such a display. Lesser foes cannot halt them. They are too heavy, too fast, too glorious. Everything else is simply swept aside like unwanted flesh. So yeah, that one definitely could be converted. You know, the thermal cannon is definitely a common knight weapon.
Yeah, I was gonna say like most of these you could probably just customize if they don't already have like a variant that exists.
Yeah.
The Hell Scourge. The Hell Scourge is a demon knight devoted to Slaanesh, a towering sinuous engine of agony and desire. Larger than its kin, the Hell Scourge strides into battle with cruel elegance, its every movement a sensual display of power. It doesn't just kill, it performs. Its sonic screams reverberate through the flesh and steel, a siren song of ruin. These knights are apex predators, their swift, bounding legs carrying them in graceful arcs as they dance through enemy lines. They strike without mercy or pattern, their castigator cannons painting the air with gore. Their minds are linked to a chorus of shared sensation. Pleasure through pain, ecstasy through slaughter. Together they do not simply attack, they enrapture. Resistance shatters beneath their rhythm. Theirs is war waged as indulgence. Are castigator cannons still around?
Yes. Now they're on like the Castigator Knight, which is like it's like the Lancer variant, the taller ones. I forget what they call those ones, but
it makes sense because the Hell Scourge is also a taller variant. So
yeah.
Again, like you could very easily build these guys.
Yeah, that one could definitely work out too.
We also have the Hell Strider. Hell Striders are the smallest of Slaanesh's demon knights, but what they lack in size, they make up for in speed, hunger, and unrelenting ecstasy. Sleek and sinuous, these gilded horrors dance across the battlefield, luring enemies from cover with bursts of searing short-range fire. Each volley is a shriek of joy, every kill a note in a symphony of sensation. In swarms they encircle enemy titans, stripping away void shields with last blades of light before closing in to melt armor and soul alike. To ride with the Hellstrider is to burn fast, bright and forever craving more. And living proof that size does not matter. You may take that however you want.
I'll take it for sure. I'll take it right where the sun don't shine, I'll tell you what, on this episode.
Yar, booty.
Yeah, the Hellstrider. Yeah.
Do you think the Hellstriders, what are the little tiny guys that accompany knights?
Yeah, like armigers.
Yeah. Could they be like an armiger variant?
Yeah, that would be a nice little short range. Yeah, definitely that would fit in. So, you know, I definitely recommend go look at those like older knight variants from the epic models or whatever. They're pretty wild looking. Like they're very different than what we look at what knights are nowadays, but could give you some inspiration for sure.
I mean, Magnus the Red looks very different back then too. So
Sure.
the canonicity of how these actually look is up for debate.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, they were pretty cool. Yeah, I like this concept of, you know, knights, they don't really fall. It's harder for them to fall. They have like all their family training, all their martial training, and then they have the throne mechanicum on top of that. So the only way they're really falling is into like these pleasure cults where they just start getting indulgent.
I mean, other chaos knights exist.
Yeah, other ones do nowadays for sure, and I won't argue that, but I kind of like the exclusiveness of it from back in the day, but whatever.
Right.
Would it be possible for there to be any Mechanicus that would fall to Slaanesh? They were talking about or Christian was talking about in the one cult.
Yeah, that cult, that's a family. That comes from a novel I haven't read, so I don't know if that sect of the Mechanicus or those members of the Mechanicus were corrupt themselves. They might not know why they're being asked for things. Like this is a noble family approaching them and asking them for enhancements. So whether or not they know why or like if there's a chaos influence involved, I guess you'd have to read the novel, but I have not.
A fun cult would be the Phantom Pleasure cult, and it's Scutari cult or something like that, where yeah, they cut their limbs off, but in like an attempt to kind of remove that sensation, but no, now it just gives them this phantom pleasure, and they slowly go down that weird path of mutilating themselves. And
A weird path for sure, but
it's a path though.
the Mechanicus always mutilate themselves. I think I don't want to. I very rarely do I say something's totally impossible in 40k. I think it would be very difficult for the Mechanicus to fall specifically to Slaanesh. I feel like Chinch is an easy one for them. Nurgle might probably be a tough one too, just because of the nature of their cybernetics.
Yeah,
Khorne could always be an influence, but like Slaanesh, I feel like it would be tough. Not impossible, certainly, but I think it would be tougher.
I feel like you'd have to like really dig into, because I think there's a sect of the Mechanicus that actually do biological augmentation or biological sciences, not just like replacing flesh with steel or whatever. I can't remember the specific name of that group.
Adeptus Biologus.
Maybe, I think so. It's like you'd really have to like dig into that, like that very niche group of Mechanicus or Dark Mechanicus, because they do exist too. So
yeah, or like I very rarely would I say it's impossible. Like you could be a regular tech priest and also get captivated by Slaanesh. Like okay, for example, Plain Jane has a good one in the chat. Is you could get them on the perfection catch. Exactly right. Like it doesn't always have to be about sensation. But yeah, like the quest for perfect knowledge or the quest to like craft the perfect machine, like that could certainly be an avenue you could approach them with too. Again, like I said, I'm not trying to say it's impossible. I'm just saying it would be probably tougher. You'd have to give it a little more deeper thought as to how and why. Liar says, aren't they excessively changing their bodies though? I mean, that's the whole point of the cult, so what's excessive to you is just normal for them, but
they're doing it in service to the Omnissiah, not to Slaanesh.
Yeah. So it's different. In all these God episodes, I never even considered doing an episode for the Omnissiah, which now I think that should probably happen, eh? Like an actual, like, talk about the Void Dragon on Mars and stuff, get into kind of their religious aspect. You know, it's so easy to focus on all these other gods, but I forgot about the Mechanicum.
Cool. I love it when an
Cool.
episode spawns like more episode ideas.
Yeah, I think we have to add that to the list here before we get to more Space Marines. But anyways,
That's the beauty of 40K, because there's just so much material to cover.
yeah. All right, let's jump to Titan Legions. Slaanesh's Titan Legions are not machines of restraint or reason. They're towering monuments to excess and indulgence. These god machines glide into battle like divine creatures of lust and pleasure, their hulls adorned with opulent jewels and sinuous curves, their every movement a sensual dance of wanton destruction. Their machine spirits are no longer governed by logic or duty, but driven by endless craving for indulgence. These titans do not bring pain or decay, they bring decadence. Their weapons are designed for sensation and destruction. Immense blades that slice with elegant precision, cannons that unleash waves of dazzling destructive beauty, and melodies of war horns that fill the air with intoxicating sounds of ecstasy. Oh, yeah. Fucking love the war horns, man. Yeah, I could just picture these knights just blasting war horns that are just sonic weapons and annihilating battlefields with just their horns.
There's something very beautiful, dare I say. I think Gothic Garnish, shared a video. It's just a Titan walking, and then just like some bitty little just AA gun just like tries to shoot at it. So then you just hear the sound of it just turning.
Oh no. That's the sound of you fucking up. Yeah, love it. Every step they take is a seductive stomp of allure. Every kill is a divine act of worship. They are not machines of war, they are altars of excess, and in their wake only blissful ruin remains.
I just had a thought of Lord of the Rings when the Momakil show up on the Pelennor, and you just hear the horns in the distance, and then like these massive entities just like stomp out onto the battlefield. It's just like, yeah.
What do you even do?
You charge. That's what you do, Mark.
Of course.
Or you just be like the guardsmen standing out there like they were here and just go, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Shit.
The Riotous Host. The Riotous Host is a traitor Titan Legion devoted wholly to Slaanesh. Their god machines are clad in gilded armor and resonate with cacophonic symphonies of destruction. During the 13th Black Crusade, they marched alongside the Emperor's children onto the pleasure world Extremis 6. Guided by Lucius the Eternal, they unleashed devastating sonic weaponry, turning towers into tumbling monoliths and collapsing skyscrapers in a deafening crescendo. The screams of billions became a choir to their madness. When 3 Astra Militarum regiments arrived to avenge the dead, they were not met with war, but with performance. And the Riotous Host always brings the finale. Well, that's nice. They put on a play for them.
Yeah, that's nice for the children to distract them from the loss of their homes. Jack says, swords shall be splintered, pelvises shall be broken. A horny day, a goon day! And the hot sun rises. Once again, that was Jack that wanted to put his name to that.
But I've always been an advocate for this part of any kind of Chaos episodes. And what are the Xenos followers like? Because Xenos who fall to Slaanesh become decadent echoes of her endless desire, their civilization consumed by indulgence and unrestrained pleasure. These alien followers do not seek unity or moderation, they glorify excess. Their cultures reshaped around lust, beauty, and excess. Where once stood temples or archives now rise brothels and palaces, dripping with opulence and the intoxicating scent of hedonism. Slaanesh's gifts are not subtle. She grants ecstasy, allure, and an unyielding thirst for sensation. Entire species become avatars of indulgence, their bodies reshaped by decadent rituals, their minds consumed by the need for more. Some indulge in the pleasure of the flesh, others craft instruments of pain and delight that bring rapture in every moment. They do not seek peace or restraint, only one truth, pleasure for the dark prince, excess for the lord of lust.
Yeah, like, everyone has their own path to walk with the gods, but there's like a part in every empire, it seems, where you have the opportunity to start getting debaucherous, and then that's when the empire kind of will fall apart. That's one option for sure. So Xenos aren't immune to that either, where maybe they've reached that, okay, sweet, we got robots that do our day-to-day labor, now let's just start relaxing and chilling, and that's where it starts.
It never ends well.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by like, obviously humans are like the main characters of 40k, so they all have their own like chaos taint as the opposite side of the imperial side of the fence. But I always like when Xenos get a little more attention, and like, what's all their relationships with chaos like? What other Xenos races might have like a Slaaneshi cult, or like a corn cult, or like just I feel like that's another area that could just really be explored.
Yeah, for sure. So the alien we're going to be talking about that's tied to Slaanesh, we mentioned it before, is the Lear. The Lear, yeah, they were around in 30k times, and they were just minding their own business on their own planet. They weren't like a galactic empire or nothing like that. They were just kind of doing their thing. They were definitely into it, seemed like that flesh shaping that we talked about, where their bodies had different forms, where they had like their aerial form, or this was their warrior caste form. And when the Imperium and the Emperor came across them, he's like, well, we don't want these Xenos here. So, you send in some Space Marines, and the Emperor's children went in and fought these guys. They used like sound weapons, and they fought like religious zealots. They had to fight for every inch, and eventually they made it to like the very center of their city. This like giant, I believe it was like a circle dome type situation that was just one of those buildings that is indescribably massive. And when the Space Marines get inside, they have to then fight off like the final cultists and stuff. And Fulgrim finds the demon sword that's been whispering to this race of the Lear that have seduced them to kind of form this whole thing for him. The Lear were like a serpentine people with like a serpent tail, humanoid body with, I believe, 4 arms and like a head type situation.
Yeah, just reading from the Lexicanum here, they're described as a snake-like lower body with insectoid heads and mandibular features.
I love mandibulars. Yeah. They were cool. I remember reading that battle in Fulgrim, and it was definitely cool. Like the way their planet was formed, or their cities, it almost felt like the impossible staircases everywhere, where there's just like bridges that kind of went to nowhere, and like just
twisting
just a maze.
And turning, and
yeah.
There's also often people tried to tie them with the Slith, which are a species of also snake-like Xenos who are often found in the retinue of Dark Eldar Archons. However, they are not the same. They just share snake-like lower bodies, which seems to be a Slaaneshi trait.
Mm-hmm. And isn't it kind of funny that when Fulgrim turns into a demon Primarch, he takes on very much layer-like qualities?
Yeah, that is
funny or entirely predictable.
Yeah.
Being that it's a Lear sword that corrupts him, but yes.
Yeah.
It also notes in their Lexicanum page that Fabius Bile was fascinated by the genetic modifications and enhancements that they did. That's what he started to incorporate into the Emperor's Children. So that's like double heresy too. Chaos taint and also incorporating xenotech into your Space Marines is like double blasphemy.
Yeah. Very cool alien. Unfortunately, they were all exterminated. I don't think any exist.
Or very fortunately.
I don't know. Potato. You say genocide, I say not today, Satan.
Speaking of Fabius Bile, we do have some notable servants of Slaanesh. Except, hold on. Actually, I lied. Fabius Bile is not on this list because he is explicitly an atheist. Like, he was held on a tribunal with Slaanesh present. He could feel the presence of Slaanesh, and he is just sweating bullets, just like, this is just a figment of my imagination. This is not real. This is not real. This is not real. Not Fabius Bile, but we do have other notable servants of Slaanesh. To follow Slaanesh is to cast aside all restraint and surrender to the pure, intoxicating allure of excess. Her path does not begin with duty or reason, but with indulgence, the primal truth that pleasure is the highest form of existence, and only through excess can one truly be alive. A reveler who no longer seeks purpose but the thrill of sensation, a hedonist who drowns the mundane in ecstasy and desire, a follower who seeks no end, only endless indulgence. Each is a vessel for Slaanesha's will. As they offer themselves to her domain, they shed shame, restraint, and inhibition. Their bodies become temples of excess, and their minds consumed by the hunger for more. They do not seek balance, they gorge on indulgence. They do not calculate, they consume. And in boundless pleasures, they find their truth not in self-restraint, but in surrender. In Slaanesha's name, there is no limit, only indulgence, only ecstasy, only the ever-growing desire for more. So some notable ones, just to name a couple, we do have Lucius the Eternal from the Emperor's Children, former captain of the Emperor's Children, and now a favored champion of Slaanesh. And there's a lot more on this individual that's definitely going to become his own episode at some point in time.
At least with that guy, we can definitely do that episode because we've done his Legion. So I've been waiting for a couple of these characters for Legions first before we talk about the characters.
Definitely. And Lucius is one of those that's like, you kind of like either you love him or you hate him.
Or you love to hate him, man.
Or you do, or you love to hate him. So he's a very polarizing individual, but very interesting to learn about. We have Emily Dubois. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. I apologize if it's not right. As a mortal, she ran a chaos cult out of the St. Trinia Academy for the Daughters of the Gentlefolk, located in the southern hemisphere of the main eastern continent of Slockenberg. Emily and her acolytes beguiled Caiaphas Cain and two Valhallan gunners and attempted to possess them. Oh, scandalous. And then we have Jahar the Lacerator. Jahar, also known as Jahar the Lacerator, was a Chaos Lord of Slaanesh, a traitorous officer of the Emperor's Children. Again, we're picking up a theme here. Toward the end of the 500s and 37, Jahar established a strong following of Chaos Space Marines from his legion, as well as cultists and mutants. And that is all we have on the notes.
Lots of fun little different cults and stuff. Did any speak to you guys where you're like, yeah, I definitely want to get involved? Pick up that leaflet. You're calling the number on the back.
See their recruiting phone number scrawled in the dirty bathroom stall on a bus stop.
Exactly. I think, I don't know. They're all kind of, there was a lot of corn ones that I'm like, I fucking want to join that one. This one was all pretty okay. I would have joined any of them really. They're all pretty similar, but.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to mention is none of them really stand out as entirely unique. I kind of like that one. I forget what they call the Sirens one. Just kind of like that band roadie aesthetic. Sirens of Agony, I think. Yeah, I like that, but that was the only one that really stood out to me personally. It just had something extra, right? They're all about excess. They're all about like these things you're kind of seeing in all of them, but they have a stronger theme, I felt.
I like the Riotous Host, which is the Titan Legion with sonic weapons. You know, that's fun just in and of itself, but it's not like the coolest thing out there. You know, it's just fun.
I'm kind of with Christian. I'm kind of torn between the Sirens one, just because the whole band geek thing for me, and then of course you got me at Pirates. So what's not to love about Pirates? Yeah. But I'm still gonna be like, fuck Slaanesh, you know?
Yeah.
In both
got a whole. Not. Anyways,
what's your rant there, Slaanesh or Gerald? What did Slaanesh do to you? What were you a young boy? Or what?
You don't know pain until you go to Slaanesh directly to try and find love again, only for Slaanesh to look at you and be like, honey, I can't help you.
No.
Nah, but like, of all the Chaos gods, Slaanesh is probably the one that's the easiest. It's probably the easiest to fall to, because all it takes is just that little whisper, and then just like that one indulgent pleasure, and then all of a sudden it's like a drug addiction. It's like alcoholism. It's like an addiction to a certain corn hub area place that we can't talk about. And I'm just like,
Yeah, like you said, it's like it's so easy and it could be so minor too. Like my Warhammer
Mhm.
addiction isn't hurting anyone, where it's a lot harder to say that.
Mhm.
My murdering
Mhm.
spree isn't hurting anyone for Corn. Like not
Mhm.
as good. So yeah, it's a path that anyone could fall on, and you don't even really know you're on it yet.
Like, if I'm being completely honest, if I was to fall for an addiction, it would be Warhammer, it would be painting, it'd be the creativity behind all of that, the perfectionism in it, and then yeah, so all of that, like the sensation of listening to music, and then of course when you were talking about the realm of Slaanesh with Fuzz, and then like the first level was just like the food, the banquet or whatnot. You
Yeah.
would have just lost me entirely at that point in time. So it's like all those things I would have been like, yep, sign me up, say less. Just sit here and take my shirt off right now. No.
I'm taking my shirt off right now.
Claimed at the very end of the episode.
Yes.
Nope, it's still on. It's still on.
I would argue that, yeah, I agree broadly. Like Slaanesh also has a very large breadth of areas you could fall through, like, food, lust, greed. It covers a lot of bases that are just, I think, inherently human. But I also went on a rant a few episodes ago. I can't remember what episode it was on, about a lot of us are speaking from like a very specific cultural context where we have a lot of luxury in our day-to-day lives, which makes Slaanesh, like, modern civilization is very much built around the idea of Slaanesh, excess of everything, like food, entertainment, like all of it. So that could just be something that we experience because of our cultural context. I feel like if you were in a society that's like racked by warfare, someone like Corn might actually be more of a default state, or, a giant plague or disease, you might suddenly find yourself more easily ensnared by Nurgle. I just literally think it's the cultural context of our society that makes Slaanesh seem like that much more easy to fall to, because in a lot of ways we already do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fucking isn't that
And
an observation?
yeah.
Yeah.
And Mark, I think you made this point before. I don't know if it was on like old Warhammer or even if it was a Pillow Talk episode, where it's just like when you start to see more of, I'll say, Slaaneshi related traits in a civilization, then you kind of know we're on a downhill slide.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I kind of came up with this thought on the last episode of like civilizations and which god has the best chance and when to try to claim that civilization. Like an early civilization, when the civilization is still barbarians, Korn's like, this is my jam. I'm just going to hope that they fight each other till the end of time. But then the civilization advances. You got people starting to make governments. They're starting to plot and scheme. And this is when Chinch can kind of get in and run wild. And then, yeah, they get something stable. Everything's good. And Slaanesh creeps in. It starts to fester. And then Nurgle sets in for the end of the empire and claims it. So there's like these different stages of the empire where you have to be kind of careful, because that god's going to kind of come at you hard at certain times. Of course, this isn't real, so it doesn't really matter, but that's what I thought about.
right. I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about.
No, I like, that's the order the Chaos Gods should have been birthed in. I've had this rant before about Corn and like it doesn't make sense, Middle Ages, blah blah blah. But like what you're describing, Mark, that would be perfect.
That would be a fun order, man.
That's what I'm after. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like a civilizational collapse order, essentially.
Yeah.
Where, yeah.
And I do think that's an interesting observation too, for real life, as a side note.
And then the other thing about my rant against Slaanesh is, like, Christian pointed this out, like there's so many different options with how you can convey Slaanesh in the model range, and then it's just like, now this is just me personally and just the kind of upbringing I had, but when you had like this over emphasis on like the sex, drugs, rock and roll, man, and it just doesn't speak to me. That's just the main thing. Is just that part doesn't speak to me. Yeah. Artistry, perfectionism, food, on the other hand, hell yeah, sign me up.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
So, cool. Jax, I hope that answers your question. Thank you. And this is also in regards to Jax. I think you made the comment that Slaanesh was the most progressive of the gods. Yeah, it may be progressive to acknowledge a Chaos Marine can snort your kid after a concert gone wrong, but that doesn't mean I want it to happen to my kid.
No, ideally not, but if that's what the fate declares, so be it. Yeah. Cool. We'll just do the end notes. If you want to buy some Cult of Excess members, whether it's Emperor's Children or, Black Legion or whatever, go to Merlin's Miniatures, use promo code Lorehammer. Click the link in the description below. You can get some discounts. Go help them out. Helps us all out. And yeah, I also have the Lorehammer Listener Lore podcast. Come listen to me read homebrew lore.
And as you heard earlier in the episodes, we can talk about the characters of Starkiller or Skywalker in the Star Wars podcast. So if you like me or Jordan, that's kind of a little deep dive into the Star Wars universe and Star Wars lore.
And if you want to learn about Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, my co-host Ray and I talk about that on the Grim Lore podcast. And we have not, like I said before, we have not had a Slaanesh episode just yet, but we've had a few Slaanesh adjacent episodes, so you can get your fill of that over there. And we also talk about the relationship between the warp in both fantasy and 40K with Mark. We've done crossover episodes with Christian and Jordan. It's all good stuff.
Yeah. Jax just says, episode idea, what Star Wars characters would fall to what Chaos God? You got one off the top of your head, Christian?
Oof. I mean, a really easy one would be Maul and Korn, I think.
Sure.
Or
Okay.
Maul and Korn, that's just like... I'm
fucking sold. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sidious definitely Cheech.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna list them all, but
Plagius, the guy who overpowers death, is Nurgle.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all coming together. And of course, Anakin likes Slaanesh because he falls to the pleasures of the flesh.
Padme booty. Yeah, there you go.
Padme booty. It's all coming together. Well, what an episode of Lorehammer. The next episode, I think we're talking Malice and the Sons of Malice and his... It's not a cult. They call it the Doomed Ones, and it's been pretty cool to read about. So we'll see you guys all in that episode. Adios.
Bye-bye.